She don't like her eggs all runny. She thinks crossing her legs.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Eat This Twin Cities. TB,
we are back.
We are back. I feel like I'm not very articulate this afternoon. Of course, I never really am, but my brain feels numb from the trip. I feel like I left all of my brain cells on the island.
I think it's so hard because on the island and just vacation in general, you tend to move so much slower, and to come back to such a fast-paced craziness, I think it's even slower on the island. I mean, it's just a simpler life. People are more chill, and then we come back to everything going hyper speed. So
I know. It's quite, you can't just, I mean, it's like you've been riding a bike for 6 months, and suddenly you just get into a Porsche.
Yeah.
And it's like, what the hell, man? This is like crack. I can't handle it.
It's like, what just happened?
I know, everything is moving so fast. Yeah, I've been having a really tough time adjusting. I think we need to head back to the island because that is where we belong.
So speaking of all this, I guess we're kind of jumping in. We should just talk about everywhere we went and different recommendations. We ended up staying, our first night when we left, we stayed at the Miami Beach Resort.
Yeah, that was gorgeous. Perfect pool, great setting. In front of the ocean there, and it was a great way to kind of kick off the trip because that was our first day where there was like a 50-degree temperature change.
Right, and it was really nice too because it wasn't right by South Beach. It was more North Beach, so it was a little bit quieter, which we liked instead of being in the total chaos. And then how funny was it that you had your Pink Floyd shirt on and everybody was going crazy over your Pink Floyd shirt?
Well, I think they thought I was in the band or something, so I was just playing along with it. I'm like, yep, I'm the drummer.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm signing autographs at 3 o'clock.
It was just kind of crazy. Seriously, you walk in and how many people? It had to have been 3 different people walked up to you. Pink Floyd, yeah.
Well, I've gotten more, it's funny because these $10 rock t-shirts that you can now get at Target, you can get like Nirvana, Pink Floyd, Johnny Cash. I can't remember who else I have, but I always get comments about them. I was wearing this voiceover student of mine FaceTimed with me we did it right from FaceTime on the iPhone because I was directing his voiceover demo session. Right in the middle of it, he just stops in the middle of the script and goes, "Hey, dude, that t-shirt is killer." Yeah. He loves the Nirvana t-shirt.
They're always a great conversation starter.
Yeah, that was a good way to start off the. It's just kind of funny. You know, you're not in Minneapolis anymore when you're lying next to some girl in her 20s that probably took about 275 selfies within about a 3-minute time span, and that's about 3 more than what you and I usually do, and we're on a trip.
That was unbelievable. And even she was like trying to take pictures of her butt.
Oh yeah. She was pointing the camera, towards her rear end, and she probably took another 100 pictures of that. It's just hysterical.
So we have to say the Miami Beach Resort, the service was amazing. The hotel is a little bit older, and we did read that on TripAdvisor. But we were really impressed, right? Like, what would you give it out of 5 stars?
I would give it about 4.5 because, I give a half a point just to the fruit guy.
Right, the fruit guy. Sitting out by the pool, here comes a guy with little kebabs of fruit. It was fantastic. It was exactly what you needed as you were laying in the hot sun.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
And we had mentioned when we checked in that it was our honeymoon. And then all of a sudden, when we got back up to our room, they delivered that wine and cheese. Remember, we didn't know what the heck was going on. We thought Tippy sent it to us.
Hey, so if you want a free bottle of wine, just tell them you're on your honeymoon.
But that was, even that too, that was above and beyond. That was really great service. So we loved it there.
TB, can you hang on a second? I need to take a picture of my butt.
I still can't get over how many, literally. It had to have been 40. We're not even exaggerating.
Well, I wanted to take a picture of her taking a picture of her butt.
You couldn't stop staring, I'm sure, for many reasons. They were hot girls.
Well, yeah, they really were. Let's be honest. I mean, all my guy friends would have probably appreciated that picture, but.
Oh.
All right, so from there, we flew to Eleuthera and tell everybody exactly where we stayed there. And hopefully this is valuable information because if you guys go to the islands, the Bahamas, or anywhere else, I mean, this is we're gonna just list off a few cool places. Right.
And usually when you are headed to the Bahamas, Miami is the stop. So it is a cool deal to be able to just stay overnight. We decided to take that early flight. Yeah, and then we flew to Eleuthera, which, there's 700 islands in the Bahamas. we ended up seeing two. Eleuthera is 100 miles long, so it's a bigger island. And we stayed at Pineapple Fields, which is individual owned townhomes. And that place was great too. A little bit more quiet, right?
Absolutely loved it. And the pool was basically about 10 yards away from our room. So it was pretty magical.
For sure. And then you could see the ocean, and obviously it was a quick walk right to the ocean. And then there was Tippy's Bar right there.
Yep. It's kind of funny because Tippy's Bar just kind of opens and closes when they feel like it, because it just depends on how much traffic is in the area.
But that's what I'm saying too about how the island, like, they just roll with it. Unlike here, everything is so intense.
I know, everything is so intense. Like, well, we're a little slow tonight, so I think we'll just close up the shop. I mean, can you imagine if some of the places around here did that?
Right, people would lose their mind.
Yeah, well, it's a little slow at Target today. I think we'll just lock the doors.
Which we loved Tippy's Bar too. We love the name, of course, because it's your sister's namesake.
Yes, of course.
And then the other cool thing that we loved there, again, like, it was more quiet. I mean, the townhouses surrounded the pool, and then it was just really, really relaxing and very calm. The town is about 3 miles from Pineapple Fields, and they always have big fish fries, and they had a jazz festival when we were going on when we were there, which was amazing, right? I mean, who was it that was there?
We had a chance. Steve Oliver, who played with Foreplay, a popular and very talented jazz band. He sat in with, I can't remember the name of the band, but he was awesome. He actually came on
amazing.
And did about 4 or 5 songs. And it's funny when you go on vacation to an island like Eleuthera or Harbor Island, it's amazing who just kind of flies in and sits in with the band for a night. It could be anybody. You just never know. All of a sudden, oh, here comes John Hyatt to play with, just this neighborhood band where, a bunch of guys on bongo drums, and it was terrific.
It was. That was really, really cool. And the fish fries are always so great because it's just the local food, the women putting together different salads, and the guys are out there frying the fish. It's very cool. Very, very cool.
Well, I had a blast just meeting and talking with people in the beer line, because, of course, I'm a big fan of Sands beer, which you can only get. I don't know if you can only get it on the islands, but I really haven't seen it anywhere else, so I can't verify that. But, of course, the lines for the beer were quite intense, but it was fun kind of talking with everybody waiting in line. And sure enough, we met somebody from Waconia. We met another person from St. Paul here. All these Minnesota people basically followed us to the island.
And we always knew they had their twins hats on.
In both places, both Eleuthera and Harbor Island. I couldn't believe it. I must have met like 4 or 5 guys that had twins hats on, and we had conversations about it with all of them, whether it was on the beach or in line for beer. It was pretty funny.
And then from Eleuthera, we went to Harbor Island, which Harbor Island is it's 3 miles long, but it's not as quiet. It's a little bit more wild in a fun way. And even when we say wild, that's kind of funny because life is much slower there.
Right.
But there's definitely a more nightlife. Everything, because it is a smaller island, everything is in close proximity, and you can get to all the different events and bars and restaurants and beach. I think one of my favorite things about Harbor Island is how the ocean is on one side and then the bay side. So you can go to the bay side where it's a little bit more calm, and then just literally it's like walking across the street, and then you go to the ocean. It
was terrific. It was, and then again, just on the island, you never know who you're going to meet, and it was kind of fun. We actually met Dave Stewart from the Eurythmics.
Right.
In that, I can't remember where it was at, but I know a few of our family members ran into him, and then we finally ran into him at some...
It was Mr. Wallace's, which is just another...
Yes.
This is just such another great story when you go to the Bahamas. That is such a fun adventure and so cool to embrace what's going on locally there. Is we ended up going out a little bit later that night, and we hadn't had dinner, and so we were running around trying to find out where, asking everybody on the island, where should we go to eat, and everybody kept saying, go to Mr. Wallace's.
Yep.
And you end up, it's literally one of the Bahamians' houses, and you walk up and they take your order, and we ended up getting like chicken and mac and cheese, and it's just so good. The food there is delicious, and it's so fun having just their home cooked food. And anyway, so when we went into Mr. Wallace's, I was standing there and I didn't know who Dave Stewart was. And so and I wanted to make sure the food was good, and he was the only one in there. And so I was asking, and then of course you came in and you knew who he was, and we had a little chat. So it was great. It was so fun.
That's what you got to do too, is just kind of walk up as if you guys knew. You got to walk up to celebrities and act like you've known them forever. It's like, good to see you again. You don't say like, hey, Sweet Dreams was my all-time favorite 80s song. In fact, can you do a riff?
He was way cool.
Oh God, yeah. They always are, because it's not, a lot of celebrities go to Harbor Island just because it's not real touristy.
Mm-hmm. Right, which is so nice. And there's no vehicles on the island. It's all golf carts. What would you say your favorite night was there?
One of my favorite nights was the animal shelter benefit, because it felt like we were at a Hollywood party. It felt like a post-Academy Award kind of party. This spread was unbelievable. It reminded me of Travail a little bit, because at every station was a different kind of food, and it was amazing.
Which was so unexpected, because, again, as you're on the island, you end up just hearing about things. And we ended up hearing about this animal shelter benefit, that it was, $50 a pop. You got to hear live music, food, drink, for the night. And we thought, well, let's just go check this out. And it ended up just being amazing. It was at a home called the Fig Tree, that place was completely gorgeous, over the top.
I've got a couple videos you can put on the Facebook page later on if you'd like.
Yeah, so people can check it out. And again, that's another benefit, I think, with hitting the islands and going to the Bahamas, is you get so much of that local flavor, and just you get to know people, because it is smaller and everybody is just so friendly and happy. And
well, speaking of happy, we had something that happened that was one of the highlights of the trip. Do you want to tell everybody about it?
Yes, this was my favorite night, where Ash and Quinn, our niece, got engaged. I can't even talk.
Oh my God, you're bawling again. Oh, she's going to break down and cry in the middle of the show.
You talk.
All right, well, here's what happened. We were all sitting out on this gorgeous dock, overlooking the bay. We kind of knew that he was going to do it that night. We weren't sure how or when, and, he was pretty grumpy about 2 hours prior to it happening, because everybody, it was one of the nights where I wouldn't shut up, and there were like 4 or 5 other people that wouldn't shut up. And then he finally had that moment when the sun started to go down.
Right.
And all of a sudden he asked you to can you come and take some pictures of Ashley and I? And then everybody kind of knew it. Then everybody got really quiet. And then he got down on one knee, and then Ashley pushed him in the water. No, that's not what happened.
It was the best engagement. Just so gorgeous. That setting couldn't have been any better. And the fact that he did it in front of all of us, how cool.
And did he do it slowly? Because I'm sure he wanted to get some great picture. That must have been intense for you, because you had the camera and you wanted to get that perfect angle and that perfect shot. So I imagine that was kind of an intense moment for you.
Oh, I don't even remember. I was crying and shaking so bad that half the pictures are blurry. It was so great. Oh,
it was great. And then, of course, we celebrated afterwards by, having a $3,500 dinner. And I remember I went to, it was the Rock House.
The Rock House,
yep.
Which you have to check out if you're
Oh, my God, yeah. If you're on the island, you have to check out the Rock House. I think the future groom, I had to buy myself and him a glass of scotch. Then I looked at the bill, and I think it was like $75 for both of them.
Right. But it was good.
Oh, yeah, it was good. And that was a really, really fun night. And man, was he a different person after that was over, because
it was so relaxed after that.
It was almost like he was carrying a backpack full of watermelons on a journey of 100 miles in the deserts of Arizona. And suddenly, like a helicopter came and picked him up, a helicopter with air conditioning.
Saved him.
Yep. And all of a sudden, he's a new man.
Oh, Quinn. Anyway, congratulations to them. That was just such a wonderful part of our trip.
It was incredible. And, speaking of Travail, we're going to we never really did a follow-up review on that. We'll be talking about that in the next segment. And then a little more Twins follow-up, because, of course, this is Minnesota sports. And the second you get too excited about a team, everything falls to shit. So I'm going to talk with a buddy of mine who does a Twins blog, and we'll go from there.
That sounds good. And I know we always say this, but just so you know, everything that we talk about and all the information about where we stayed in the Bahamas, we will have on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/eatthisTwinCities.
All right, let's take a break right now because we're running a little over. And, of course, we wouldn't want to piss off all of our... Wait, we don't have any advertisers.
Coming soon.
See, I told you I lost some brain cells on the island, but we do need to take a break. So we will be back to Eat This Twin Cities right after you hear this. With Suhan Unfiltered, sports columnist for the Minneapolis Star-Tribune, Jim Suhan presents in-depth conversations with the best writers and sports personalities in the area. Suhan brings professional journalism flavor without the verbal censoring. Find out what unfiltered really means. Only on the Alive and Social Network. SuhanUnfiltered.com. All right, we are back to Eat This Twin Cities. And before we went on our trip, TB, we had an opportunity to finally dine at Travail in Robbinsdale after hearing about it forever. And man, did it ever live up to the hype.
Oh my gosh, like exceeded expectations. It's funny because, you know how when you always like hear things are so good, so delicious, so amazing, you kind of start to get a little bit numb to it or think, oh, how good could it be? It was, it is, and everyone has to go.
Oh yeah, it blew me away. I always get a little nervous when they seat everybody together. I'm just not I'm not a big fan of that kind of thing, but it worked out very well because we kind of had a fun couple with us, but why don't you tell everybody kind of the process and what you do? Because you actually prepaid online, correct?
Okay, right. So that was one of the reasons that we hadn't been there is we had heard that there were lines to get in and it was really hard, a process. And then they finally came out with this really cool reservation system. And so what you do is you make your reservation and you actually pay ahead of time, which is great. It's out of the way. And when you go, you just know you're going to have dinner and it's done and all set. And so that was wonderful. So when we got there, we had our reservation. As you said, we ended up sitting with other people. It is that type of group setting. So this place is a really cool place to bring a group of friends, right? I mean, it would be cool, for a party of people or an event, birthdays, whatever, just because it is such an experience too. I mean, it's interactive and it's food art. And besides everything looking gorgeous, it tastes unbelievable.
Well, it's unbelievable. So they basically, the chefs will cook it up, and they're actually the ones that bring it out. There's I couldn't tell if there were really any separate servers, but I believe the chefs actually act as the server. So when they're done with your particular app or whatever it is, they bring it to the table.
Which is amazing too, because it's nice that they're able to bring it to you and tell you everything that is in the dish or how it was made. We had a 10-course meal, which was $50. I mean, it's well worth the cost of what you get because each course isn't even like one thing. Like a course might even be 3 things within one. But it's just so fun. It's so lively. I love how everybody there is kind of treated as an equal, and you can see the kitchen and even how it was so interactive in the fact that we even got to prepare some of our own food. Yeah,
the desserts. I mean, they kind of invite you to go up and do your own dessert. That was pretty funny. I really like how they kept changing the music to go along with each type of food item.
Right, like when the Italian dish came out and that music came on and everybody was clapping. And they actually plated the food, a lot of it right in front of you, which if you're into that type of thing at all, which I am, I love it. I love how you can make something look so beautiful, and to watch them do that was beyond cool for me.
Oh, it was great. It was almost kind of like a really hip Epcot Center type experiment. You're visiting different countries and you're drinking all kinds of different wine and sampling all kinds of different food. And and there it sits right in that cozy, folksy street in Robbinsdale.
Right.
And who knew?
Right. And, if people haven't heard it, they're one of the top restaurants in the nation right now. The people behind us in line were from Texas because they had heard about this, Travail in Robbinsdale. I mean, they just have that snap down too. There's so many moving parts and the way that everything comes together, and their service is unbelievable. So I don't know, obviously I'm telling everyone go. It's amazing. You got to check it out.
Yeah, and again, just like you said at the beginning of this conversation, you no longer have to just show up there and wait in line. You can actually, prepay and make the reservation online.
Right, which is perfect. So you just have to go to their website, which again, this will all be on our Facebook page.
All right. Well, that's. I think we do need to take another break here before we get with Ted to talk about the Twins. I don't even think I brought his name up before.
I think you did. We're just so out of it still, getting back into routine.
Well, he's a pretty cool dude. He basically just tweets about the Twins all the time, and he's got a really cool blog. His name is Ted Schwetzler, and this is how I got to know him because I kind of banter back and forth with him on Twitter, regarding the Twin stuff, and he's really, really knowledgeable about the team. You can just tell he's just a diehard fan, win or lose. So this will complete our trilogy on the Minnesota Twins. Of course, we'll talk about them later in the year, but I just wanted to get him on.
We'll probably be talking about him next week because we're hitting the opener.
That's true. We are hitting the opener on Monday. Hopefully, we'll at least score a run by then.
I know.
It's
brutal.
Like not a way to start the year with getting, yesterday I think we lost 11-0. I think the day before was 5-0. So they not only need to score today, but they please win the game so we don't get swept in Detroit. I've got too many colleagues and people that I work with that are from Michigan, and I just don't need to hear it.
Yeah, come on, go Twins.
Yeah, they gotta get it done today. Hopefully they will. So we'll take a short break and we'll come back with Ted Schwetzler. We'll talk about his blog and things that he's doing to get ready for the season. So stick around. We'll be back to Eat This Twin Cities right after you hear this. Legendary Minneapolis-St. Paul sports radio personality Jeff Dubé's energetic sports talk jumps right into the nitty-gritty local sports details you're looking for. No one else is delivering you sports news, current events, and guests with Dubé's gusto. Join him live at any of his bar perches or live streaming Monday through Wednesday only on the Alive and Social Network. Just go to jeffdubéshow.com. All right, we are back to Eat This Twin Cities, or we should just, I guess, rename the show to Eat This Twins because we've been talking about the Minnesota Twins so much lately. But ever since we had Chris on and Mike on to talk about the excitement about the season, the air was let out of the tire, so to speak, when Irvin Santana got suspended. And we're going to bring on another Twins expert just for a few moments because I've been following this guy on Twitter for what feels like about 3 to 4 years. His name is Ted Schwetzler. Did I get that name right, Ted?
Yes, you did. Nailed it.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, you and I have been tweeting back and forth. In fact, you're responsible for giving me updates when the Twins play during the day because I can't watch the game. So I'm sitting here recording, and then I'll see your tweets come across. And, I have nothing but gratitude to you for that.
It's a secondary service. I try.
So, let's talk a little bit about, because, we were so excited, and everybody we had on about the Twins, we were just like tooting the Irvin Santana horn because we thought he was going to be the savior of the season. And then I'm flying back from the Bahamas on my honeymoon with Wi-Fi on the plane, and the first effing story I read about comes flying on Twitter, it comes flying on Star Tribune and Care 11, that Irvin Santana was suspended for 80 games. I mean, I thought I was going to need to ask for the vomit bag. I thought I was hallucinating on the plane. So tell me, what were your initial thoughts when you first read that headline?
I think a lot of it, it's anger, but a lot of it's confusion too. A guy like that, he's been in the majors for a long time. He's 8, 9, 10-year veteran. You wonder what the reasoning is behind taking any sort of performance-enhancing drug at that point. If it's, trying to get that contract because he was in a contract year last year, or if there's maybe an injury that he was trying to overcome, or whatever the case is, it was kind of curious timing that, after you've been doing it for that long and you're not really struggling to stay in the league, why that would be, I guess, your go-to. But obviously, a deflating situation just because he was another big splash for the Twins, and the Twins have gone out and addressed a poor area on their team and in their organization and pitching in recent years. So to see it negated for the first half of the season was definitely a bit of a downer.
The wind really went out of the sails, so to speak, I just couldn't believe it. It's amazing because even after that happened, there was so much enthusiasm before that happened. And then, here come all the trolls and here come all the negative tweets and all the bashing comments. It just seemed like everybody immediately, I'm not ready to jump off the bandwagon just yet. I mean, it's just, it is one pitcher. I mean, but he did seem to have that, it wasn't like he was going to guarantee every win, but he did seem to kind of have that 12 to 15 win guarantee just based on his history.
Yeah, and I think, the situation kind of provides some intrigue on both sides. I wrote a piece about it, I think last week, that he's kind of an interesting pitcher because even though he's been good and had decent numbers, a lot of his career, he's actually had a worse fielding independent pitching number than his ERA, which suggests that his defense is actually better than he is as a pitcher. And part of the problem there is the Twins' defense isn't really very good. So
Right.
There was a little bit of, worry that he might regress a little bit in target field or with the Twins. But on the other side of it, too, the fact that he's out for 80 games, I mean, this team wasn't going to be a World Series contender, and they were maybe a fringe playoff team. But now
Right.
you get in a situation where you're maybe forced to see some of these prospects and figure out what they have instead of being able to slow play them. Alex Meyer, Trevor May, Jose Barrios, those kind of guys now have maybe an accelerated timeline. If they can come out and pitch well, they have one less guy holding a rotation spot. Not that they would replace Irvin Santana, but they could definitely replace a Tommy Malone or a Mike Pelfrey.
Right, exactly. And, speaking of these prospects, we talked a little bit about that with Mike Pearson, but come July or August, I do not want to see these guys in minor league uniforms anymore. We've been hearing about these names. We've been seeing them in their minor league uniforms for about, it feels like 4 or 5 years. Can we just bring these guys up?
Yeah, I think we probably see them before, some of them, before before July, August timeline. I'd say Alex Meyer is actually starting, I believe today is opening day down in Rochester. With him slated to be their starting pitcher, it actually might look like the Twins may promote him prior to bringing back Trevor May to the fold.
Right.
But I think we probably see an Eddie Rosario, Alex Meyer, probably Trevor May, and maybe an outside shot of Miguel Sano prior to July. And then I think August, September, we're looking at a Buxton, Barrios, those kinds of names.
Oh, I love that. Well, tell us a little bit about, when exactly did you start blogging about the Twins and what kind of inspired you to get into that? Tell us a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, so I work at a desk all day, and I spend a lot of time on the computer. Kind of always wanted an avenue to share Twins thoughts, and I don't really have the necessary desire or capacity to take on a bigger role, but blogging probably started, I don't know, 3 years ago. And I've always kind of embraced social media. So getting connected with the right people on Twitter, just kind of going from hobby to something that you really enjoy. Been around a couple different sites now at offthebaggie.blogspot.com. And I will be writing or am writing for Twins Talk on the Argus Leader website, which is Sioux Falls, South Dakota's newspaper this year. And then as well as getting connected with Jeff Dubé a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
We're doing a Twins Tuesday show on his show throughout the entire Twins season. So it kind of started as just a little bit of a happenstance, kind of an outlet, and really blossomed into a hobby that's become really enjoyable and something to interact with people.
Right, and we're kind of all on the same network. I know Dubé is on the Alive and Social Network just like we are. I think, maybe mid-season, I think we all have to have a big, huge company party on the Budweiser roof deck.
We probably could fill that place up. Hopefully by June we aren't the only ones standing up there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. But it's the funny thing about Minnesota fans. I was pretty pissed off when I heard the Santana thing, but it's amazing. It's like, here we go. Here come all the 100 loss tweeps out there, sharing their hate around. I'm definitely not ready to write off the season. As a matter of fact, I'm still sticking with the fact that this team is going to be a lot more competitive this year.
And I think that's my biggest frustration that came out too yesterday, Monday, with it is that, yeah, okay, we've lost 90 games for the last 4 years, but you're blind if you're looking at this roster and comparing it to the last 4 seasons. There's not a Cole DeVries in the rotation. There isn't a Liam Hendricks or Sam DeDuno. This team is not going to be good. It's not going to be a playoff team, but they're going to be competitive. On a nightly basis, they should be in games. They should still be around that 78, 79 win total. What the Santana thing probably does more than anything is lowers the ceiling. They probably now don't have a shot at looking at a wild card push or anything like that, but the floor is still there. And the fact that you have this many prospects that are going to be called up throughout the year and whatnot, building towards something different, to just, after 1 game or 2 games or whatever, to throw up your hands and say, here we go again, you are suggesting that you were expecting so much more than that into the game, that it just screams that you weren't prepared adequately to know what to think this team is going to be,
Well, cool. Well, Ted, I really appreciate your time and your insight into not only the Santana debacle, but also your thoughts on the season. And tell us again where we can find your blog.
Yeah, not a problem. It's offthebaggy.blogspot.com, and then you can always follow along on Twitter at PL Schwerz.
Well, you're a Twitter psychopath just like I am, so I'm sure sometime during the 3rd inning at point, I'll probably throw a tweet your way today.
Sounds good.
All right, Ted, thanks for the time. I appreciate it.
Not a problem. Thank you.
All right, we are back to Eat This, Twin Cities. And I don't think we have anything left, but TB, there's a lot of fun stuff coming up this summer, like the Rolling Stones concert at TCF Bank Stadium, which is up to about $250 a ticket on StubHub.
There is tons of stuff coming up, and I am going to just keep posting stuff to our page because there's more stuff than we can even talk about. Seriously, there's just a lot of great stuff happening in our city.
There is, and I know we've kind of gotten into this little cold patch here again, but once it starts warming up and a lot of these concerts and events start taking place, there'll be a lot of cool stuff to talk about. It won't just be 30 minutes of us about our vacation.
I know, but it's great to share that next time people are planning their trip.
Oh, no question about it. And of course, we have no idea what we're going to do next week, but we promise it will be mind-boggling fun. I don't even know if that makes sense. If it's fun, can it be mind-boggling if it's fun?
Yeah, that's the best kind of fun.
Well, let me ask the Magic 8-Ball and see what it says. Is mind-boggling fun a word? It just told me to F off. Did you ever have a Magic 8-Ball?
No, I just use Siri now.
The reason I'm asking is because I'm using it for a blog that I'm doing, a picture of the old Magic 8-Ball that we all had when we were kids.
I did have one. I loved it. But I consider Siri to be my Magic 8-Ball now.
Why, yes, she is, for sure. And, all right, so that wraps it up for today. Until next time, eat this Twin City.
We really need to work on our harmony.